Hi, folks. Welcome in. Gonna let people trickle in here for a second. Thank you for joining. I promise I'm gonna try and not be this monotone throughout the whole presentation, but I have a tendency to accidentally do that, so bear with me here. Awesome. We have a pretty good group set to join tonight. Want to introduce myself really quick. My name's Tanner Simeon Cox. I'm the Colorado Program Director with Solar United Neighbors. Solar United Neighbors, I'll talk about us a little more here in a second, but we're the nonprofit organization that helps organize Solar Switch, which is just a group purchasing campaign run across the Denver metro region to try and really help bring the best value on rooftop solar possible to folks like y'all. Want to say that I appreciate you all making time to join us on this Tuesday night. We have a handful of things that we're going to talk about. One disclaimer I like to do at the top of this: whenever I'm in person, it's more fun because I can do like a hand raising activity. I was a former teacher, so I really love those like interactive things. This is a Solar 101, so I know that some of you may be joining us and you're like brand new to solar. This is your first interaction with it, and that's great. Like, you're welcome here. This is a space for you to come and learn. Other folks may be in the middle ground, like you may have gone out and solicited a few bids. You may have talked with installers or other organizations in the past. Fantastic. This is for you too. Some of you are going to be our solar experts. And I hope that I'm at least entertaining for you all. This is a Solar 101, so a lot of it will be relatively baseline sort of entry-level stuff that we go over, but there will be things for everybody here. To do a quick round of introductions of my team members that are here, we have Hannah Mitchell, who's joining, who is our Colorado Program Associate. And we have Trinity joining, who is our expert in all things solar. Trinity is going to be helping navigate the chat. This is a live sort of interactive thing, so if you have any questions while we're going along, feel free to drop those in the chat, and they will be able to sort of field those for you all. Before we get started here, love to just kind of warm folks up a little bit. If you're able to, one thing that we have done that's been like relatively successful for our virtual events is have folks say in the chat where you're joining us from in Colorado, and then per usual, what elevation do you live at? That's just like the thing that we're required to talk about anytime more than 3 Coloradans are together. So feel free to throw that in the chat. I am initially from East Tennessee. I have a tendency to talk extraordinarily slow. I'm going to try and not do that, although I will say sometimes it's a struggle on webinars. So I'll try and make sure I'm mindful of not speaking too slowly. All right. So who is Solar United Neighbors? We are a national nonprofit. And one thing that I really like to highlight in these spaces is our vendor neutrality. So we are an organization that's on the customer, the consumer, the homeowner's side. We're not going to come and try and push any particular installation company or any particular financing product or anything like that on anyone. Our goal is really to provide you all with the information and the resources necessary for you to make the best decision for yourself. With that being said, we do select specific contractors for this program. I'll explain that process a little bit later. But our programs are obligation free. So if you get in touch with the installer that's working in your community through Solar Switch, you decide it's not right for you, that's totally fine. We just want to provide sort of an easy way for you to dip your feet in this world. The way we go about our work is really threefold. So the first thing we like to do is focus on helping folks go solar. So that could be through a program like this, which again is a very large regional program. It could be through what we call co-ops, which we run in sort of smaller communities where, you know, couple hundred folks will join together and go through the program together. Or it can be through like one-to-one consultations where you call us up and you want to review a proposal. Or if you live in an area where we don't have an active program, you can always reach out and we'll help you through the solar process. Second piece of this journey is joining together. So that can be virtual events like this, or it can be in person. I was up in Boulder, probably about a month and a half ago now, and held a couple events up there and was able to meet with folks. Really good opportunity to sort of just get to know what other folks in your community are up to whenever it comes to solar, and meet people that are sort of going through this process alongside you. And then all of this sort of comes together in the third piece, which is fighting for energy rights. We do this from the super local level of working with HOAs on your all's behalf to make sure that things go smoothly with that process, all the way up to the state and the federal levels where we're fighting to make solar more accessible for everyone. You can see some of the impacts of our Colorado program here. We started in Colorado in 2019 and have helped, this number is actually a little outdated now. We've helped well over this 843 number go solar with us. And one thing that I really like to highlight is we actually keep track of how many jobs are created through the installation companies that we partner with. We've been able to help generate 135 new jobs in the solar industry since we got our start in 2019. These other stats are fun, but I'm not going to be boring and just list them off one by one. So tonight, we're going to cover three main things, starting with solar technology, which is sort of going to be the most dense portion of what we talk about. After that, we'll dig into the economics of going solar, and then we'll be able to read out a little more on how Solar Switch works. So, solar technology. Again, starting with the basics, solar PV, photovoltaic. If this is a new term to you, you'll see it a lot as you're working through this process, especially once you get in touch with your installers. PV, photovoltaic, photo meaning light to voltaic meaning power, is just the process of converting solar energy into electricity. Whenever you join our program, there are a handful of things that we're going to look for. And the first thing that we do is look and make sure that your roof is a good fit for solar. First thing we sort of identify is your roof orientation. So you can see here that north-facing roofs are really the only roof spaces that we don't recommend for solar. That's not to say that it's outright impossible, but there will be some additional conversations we'll want to have if your only usable roof space is north-facing. Second thing we look for is little to no shading. We do a satellite review of your house to check and see if there's anything, any trees or any structures that are causing substantial shading that would affect your system's production. With that, another asterisk here, we fully understand that sometimes those satellite images are outdated and changes might have happened. So if you do see at any point in the process that your roof gets flagged for shading, feel free to reach out to us and we'll have a conversation about any changes that have happened. And then the last piece here is we want to make sure that there's enough space to actually mount panels on your roof. What we are typically looking for is around 200 square feet of usable space. That is what's effective for smaller homes. That'll still be like just a 3.5 or so kilowatt system. So usable, but if that's what you have on a larger home, we might have to have more of a conversation about sort of the value of doing a smaller installation and if that's going to offset your electricity bill enough to justify this process. So a few key terms, which again, not gonna cover this too heavily because any of us who have had a utility bill have seen these terms. Kilowatt versus kilowatt hours is really a way just to measure kilowatts as capacity, kilowatt hours as efficiency. One sort of metaphor we float around is thinking of Kilowatts, similar to horsepower in your car, where it's measuring a maximum potential, and kilowatt hours, similar to miles per gallon, where it's measuring that sort of efficiency. So if we take a look at this example system here, this 3 kilowatt system, and we talk about these things. So 3 kilowatts is measuring the size, the actual capacity of the system. But if you imagine a perfect summer day where there's not a cloud in the sky and sort of the 2 peak hours where this system is getting direct exposure to sunlight, over the course of that 2 hours, this 3 kilowatt system would be able to produce 3 kilowatt or 6 kilowatt hours of electricity. Again, in practice, it's never going to break down that simply and that straightforward, but that is just an example as sort of a reference point for these terms. In Colorado, we do see that the average system size ranges from 5 kilowatts to 7 kilowatts. Whenever it comes to how much you can install, I think most folks in this program are going to be in Excel territory. Excel has a 200% cap based on your annual electricity usage. So not related to kilowatts, but more so related to your annual electricity consumption. And then some of the rural electric co-ops and electric associations may have caps set at 10 kilowatts. If you run into a question about that, feel free to reach out to us and we can work through it with you. Getting into how the system is actually built out, we have the first piece, which is racking. So if you have a standard asphalt shingle roof, there will be penetrations that are made into your roof in order to secure the racking system onto which the solar panels are installed. If you have a standing seam, sort of metal roof, those roof penetrations are typically not required, and you can mount them sort of floating. I doubt this will be the case for many folks here. You can consider ground mounted installation if you either, one, don't have space on your roof but have a large enough property to do so, or two, if it's just a personal preference and you have the space to do it. I will say that does tend to be a little more pricey than mounting it on your roof, just because of all of the extra labor, trenching, so on and so forth that goes into a ground-mounted system. One other piece on roofs and the racking systems, we do understand that there are a variety of roof types. The installers that we work with, most of them are able to do most types of roof. But if you do run into a situation where your installer says that they're not able to, arbitrary example, but if they say they're not able to work on a clay tile roof, reach out to us and we are typically able to find a way to work around that issue. So the next stop along the way, now that we have the solar panels and the racking system, are the inverters. So there are 2 types of sort of industry standard inverters. The first is the string inverter, which is a central location, typically placed right by your main panel, where the electricity your solar system is producing is converted from a direct current to an alternating current in order to be used by your home. The way the industry is trending is more towards microinverters, and microinverters serve the same function, but are actually placed at each panel junction. And we do see that microinverters tend to leave you a little room for optimization, for building out your system into the future if you know that need, and also honing in on any issues you may be having with your system through the system monitoring. Other options here are like string inverters with optimizers, string inverters plus an EV charger. You can get a combination like that. But most of the initial offers you're going to see are going to be the panels plus microinverters. Everybody's favorite subject is the electrical panel. Good news is that most homes are not going to need a main panel upgrade before going solar. It is a simple connection into the panel. If you're talking with your installer, their electrician, and they do recommend, like, let's say you live in an older home that does end up needing a main panel upgrade, feel free to take a look at Rewiring America. They have some really good information about rebates and tax credits that are available for panel upgrades plus solar and so on and so forth. So we've covered most everything here, but moving down the line again, we have the solar array, which is composed of individual silicon cells that do the work of converting the sun's energy into electricity. Those get the electricity that's produced gets pumped through the inverter in order to be converted into an alternating current, goes through your electrical panel. And if you need that electricity immediately in your home, it gets sent into your home to be used. And if not, it gets sent back through your utility meter and onto the grid through a process known as net metering. Net metering is a fair crediting system that is in place in Colorado that allows you to be credited 1-to-1 for any excess electricity that you send back to the grid. And that's really a way to recognize the benefit of solar and what solar provides to your community and to the grid at large. That 1-to-1 credit is valued at whatever the cost you would be paying to purchase electricity at that time. So if you're on Excel's time of use rate structure, you would be typically paying a certain amount during peak hours, and you're sending excess electricity onto the grid during that time, you'll be credited at that same rate as the peak hour rate that you would be purchasing. Those credits are able to be stored, and if you are in need of electricity in the evening or on a cloudy, rainy, snowy day, whenever your system's not producing as efficiently, you're able to tap into that credit bank to offset your future electric bill. To give an example of what that looks like on your electric bill, you can see here in this example that there was approximately 300 kilowatt hours of electricity bought from the grid in this particular month, while this homeowner was able to export 200 kilowatt hours of electricity back to the grid. So what this person was left over at the end to pay on their electric bill was the cost of 100 kilowatt hours of electricity. These two notes at the bottom here are really important. In Colorado, you will have a service fee in order to actually connect to the grid. Some areas, that's a really, really low fee of $7 or so. There are some utilities, more so out west and in the mountains, that gets a little bit higher, around $30 or $40. But that is basically so you can use the grid in case your solar system is not functioning for any given time. And then finally here, your electric bill is not going to reflect your self-usage. So it's not going to show how many kilowatt hours of electricity you used in your home. It will just reflect what you have exported back to the grid after your consumption. So this is the point whenever I'm doing this that I feel a little bit guilty. I come here and I talk about solar and doing rooftop installations. I'm a renter. I can't do that. I can't install a solar system. And a really good option for you, if you're in a similar situation, or if you just find that rooftop solar is not right for you, but you still want to use solar energy, is community solar. Community solar gardens are a really effective way to sort of transition to clean energy if rooftop does not make sense in your situation. And the process is pretty simple. So you can find a community solar garden that's close to you. You're able to pay typically a monthly subscription fee in order to participate. And that will give you a certain allotment of that solar garden's electricity that it produces in any given month. And you're sent a credit for that electricity that you're purchasing from the community solar garden. I will say this definitely does not lower your electric bill as much as rooftop solar does. But we do tend to see ballpark of 10% bill savings for folks that transition to community solar. If you're interested in learning more about it, you can go to our website here and find a community solar farm near you. I want to say a quick point of clarification that community solar is super popular in Colorado, and most gardens right now currently have a wait list and are not accepting new registrations. We did pass a bill earlier this year in Colorado and are set to see more solar garden developments over the next handful of years. And so we're hopeful to see those subscription spots begin to open up relatively soon. The next thing that's available through our program is battery storage. Battery storage is a really popular topic right now. And there are a lot of instances where this makes a ton of sense. So if you're in an area where you see a lot of utility outages and you need that backup power, batteries may make sense for you. Similarly, if you have things like medical equipment or other essential loads at home that you know you absolutely cannot lose power to at any point, batteries may also be a good fit for you. I'm just top of mind right now are the hurricanes and everything that's been going on in the southeast, and thankfully we don't have to deal with that here, but I know for some mountain communities, wildfires are a real concern, and batteries are an important part of general emergency and disaster preparedness. Anytime there are widespread utility outages due to natural disasters, it can definitely be important to consider batteries. With that, I will say batteries are still a relatively new and boutique technology, and the price reflects that. Batteries are still relatively expensive, and they definitely will space out the time it takes to pay back what you invest into solar. But that being said, if any of these things apply to you, it might be a good fit. If you're interested in learning more about this, would definitely recommend taking out or checking out rather, our solar and storage guide on our website. You can take a look at it there and read through and see if there happen to be any other questions you need answered. Got carried away. The final thing that's available through all of our programs are EV chargers. So if you're somebody who has recently taken advantage of that, I think I heard there's like a $30 a month lease somewhere at some dealership in Boulder for the Nissan Leaf. If you've done that, or if you are considering buying an EV, we can definitely plan to do EV chargers in this program. Relatively simple installation process. A 240 volt outlet only requires sort of one step up from your standard outlet. And you can see some of the warranty and other information here. To look a little bit more at the cost, again, this is a generalization. Once you're working with your installer, they'll be able to get you more specifics about what their costs are. But we do typically see that the total costs to add an EV charging project to your solar project is going to be an additional $1,000 to $2,700. Again, depending on the exact piece of equipment that the company is using and any installation fees that they have on top of that. So to round out our section here on solar technology, wanted to hit on these frequently asked questions that we see. So the first one is about warranties, which is always top of mind for folks. We do have 3 types of warranties that will be available to you through the installers we work with at SolarSwitch. The first is the product warranty or the manufacturer's warranty, and that's going to cover, that's going to cover the actual equipment that's being installed on your home. These will typically range 20 or so years, but we do see that if there is an issue with a particular piece of equipment, you're going to be able to identify that relatively soon after the installation and then tap into that warranty. The second warranty that you'll see is the workmanship warranty. And that is really what covers your home and other things as the installation process is happening. So as the installers are on your roof, drilling into the roof, hanging the system, we want to be sure that that's protected. And most of the time you'll see that stretching out to around 10 years. And the final warranty you'll see is the power production warranty. Power production warranties range, again, typically around 25 years. And what those do is guarantee a certain percentage of production in year 25 as compared to year 1. So with a lot of panels now, what we're seeing is that those power production warranties are going to be guaranteeing 80, 85, 90 plus percent of production in year 25 as compared to year 1. And those are really meant to guarantee that your system is producing super efficiently over time. With homeowners insurance, my disclaimer here is that myself and no one at Sun are insurance agents. So we would recommend that the first thing you do is reach out to your insurance agent and see if there are going to be any significant changes to your insurance. Most of the time, we don't see drastic changes to insurance costs. Not saying that there aren't exceptions, but it's just a good conversation to have on the front end with your insurance provider. For both maintenance and how long systems last, really systems are meant to last for a lifetime. You have the warranties that'll stretch out 20, 25 years and guarantee that certain percentage of production. But systems are really built to last, and we're seeing that that's especially the case as panels and inverters become more efficient and more effective over time. For maintenance, solar panels are meant to be easy to maintain. If we're in a season where it's been particularly dry and it's dusty out, or it's wildfire season and there's a bunch of soot in the air, that will naturally settle on your panels. If you notice that it's significantly affecting your system's production, most cases you're able to just take a water hose and spray off your panels. There are sort of nicer cleaning products and services that are available. Most of the time you won't need those. More often than not, you can just wait for the next rain or the next snow to sort of clean your panels off naturally. For both HOAs and historic districts in Colorado, they're not allowed to prevent you from installing solar, but they are allowed to have some input on the design, where the system can go, other things like that. If you're running into any sort of excessive holdup with your HOA or any other issues that you may encounter, again, like I mentioned at the top of the call, please reach out to us and we're happy to step in as sort of a third party to work through things with you and your HOA. For both hail and snow, the hail situation, panels are intentionally overbuilt to withstand hail. I will say that we are very understanding that those tests happen in a very controlled environment and are done in a lab and not sort of out in real life. With that being said, we do see that panels are very hail resistant in the real world as well. There have been instances where we've seen a really major hailstorm and somebody's system gets damaged, but more often than not, that is not the case. With snow, panels are built to shed snow really quickly. It's not, the snow question is not as much of a concern on the Front Range as it is in the mountains. But what I will say is if we do have a particularly snowy season, and there's a significant amount of snow buildup, When your panel starts to shed, it sheds all at once. So you may want to consider snow guards to keep that massive sort of avalanche from happening off your roof. If you have things like cars, especially if you have like kids playing in the driveway, you want to make sure that there's something there to make sure the snow doesn't all come off at once. So with that, we're going to move into the economics of going solar. So I always feel a little bit cheesy just being like, solar is a great investment. But it really is. Costs have dropped a ton, even since 2010. And we're seeing that the return on investment, that period that it takes to recoup what you've invested into your solar system, is really decreasing a ton. We do price modeling for most of our utility districts before we launch these programs. And we see that the average payoff period in Colorado, if you're doing a cash purchase, is just under the 10-year mark. And we see that if you're going the financing route, it's going to pay itself off in typically around 11 to 13 years is the time range there. So still a really quick turnaround, and it is felt significantly whenever you see sort of your utility bill drop in the way it does. The final piece here is the 30% federal tax credit. You're able to apply for that tax credit the year after your installation is complete. We are not tax professionals, so we can't give you tax advice on how to apply for that credit. But what I do like to sort of make a note on is that tax credit is non-refundable. So let's arbitrarily say your tax liability at the end of the year is $1,000 that you owe, but you have a $1,500 tax credit. You're able to use the first $1,000 to meet your tax liability, but you can't cash out that extra $500. What you can do is roll that over into a consecutive year in order to help offset future tax liability. So with our programs, we really like to highlight how we're able to, one, support you all and help really offer a cost-effective service, but then also assist the installers in saving them money, which is why they're able to offer a reduced cost. Whenever an installer is putting together a bid or putting together a quote for a solar system, there's a lot that goes into it. You obviously have the system components and the labor costs, but for a lot of companies, you have the sales costs and how much money it costs them to actually generate a sale. By going solar through our programs, we're able to take on a lot of the responsibility of doing the education, of bringing folks together that are interested in going solar. And it greatly reduces the installer's soft costs, which is why they're able to offer a better rate. And then if you're looking at financing options, you can definitely learn more about loans at our website. I will say that both of the installers we're working with on this program have a variety of options. They have preferred in-house options. They'll also have recommendations about clean energy credit unions and other places that you can go. Home equity lines of credit are another option that you can look into. Tons of financing options. If you have a list of them and you're having trouble making decisions about, oh, I have this one option that has an origination fee, but it has a really low interest rate, and this other option that has a higher interest rate, but no origination fee. If you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to us and we can help you sort of sort through those things. Another option here is third-party ownership, either through power purchase agreements or leases. I will say with these that it's just super important to read the fine print when you're going in on a lease agreement or a power purchase agreement. We at Sun do not think that these are outright bad. There are some folks who do want to see that decrease in their electricity bill, but may not have the upfront cash in order to afford a system. And this could be a really good option for folks like that. Where it gets tricky is there are predatory companies out there that try and put people into really bad lease agreements, which is why it's so critical to make sure that you thoroughly read the contract before agreeing to it. That way you don't find yourself in a situation where 10 years down the road, you're trying to move, but you have this lease agreement and you're not able to break the lease agreement or transfer it. It's just really important to make sure that everything is sort of lined up in that situation. And then finally, some options that are available are different grant and rebate programs. So USDA Rural Energy for America program, it's not going to apply to a ton of folks in the sort of Denver metro area. What that program is designed to do is support installations on agricultural operations. Those can be in rural, suburban, or urban environments. So if you run an urban garden and you're interested in doing a solar installation for that, reach out to us and we can sort of help you walk through this application process. And then the other folks that this applies to are typically folks who live in sort of unincorporated areas of less than 50,000 people who own and operate a small business. So that is the other distinction for REIT. Another thing we do have available that we facilitate in-house is the Denver Solar Equity Rebate. That program is an $8,000 rebate for homeowners who make between 80 and 100% of the area median income. Unfortunately, we just filled up spots for that for this go around, but this is something that we're going to be doing again in 2025. So if you're interested in learning more about that and potentially delaying your project until 2025, reach out to us and we'll be happy to sort of work with you on that. Another program that unfortunately just closed, but we're trying to make sure it gets reopened for next year, is another rebate program through Excel. And then there are always lists of local incentives. Depending on your county or town, you can reach out to us and we can help you sort of navigate what might be available to you. All right, we are nearing the end. Everybody, like, deep collective breath in and out. We're going to talk a little bit more now about how Solar Switch works. So why join Solar Switch? Here's my pitch. This is the pitching part of my presentation. We really believe that Solar Switch offers the best value on installation. I want to make it abundantly clear that we do not guarantee the best price on solar. Some folks are going to be able to go out and find a better price offering. What we're able to bring to the table is really solid equipment offerings with thoroughly vetted installers at a very fair price. For this round, we did see that the price came through at around 20% below what the standard market rate is. So we are seeing that added benefit of a reduced price paired with all of these other things. We also offer you support through the whole process, and that process includes even after installation. Once you're a member with Solar United Neighbors, you're a member for life. We've even had some folks reach out to us recently with some questions who installed with us all the way back in 2019, and we're able to continue to provide support with them over time. And that's sort of our commitment to you all, is that regardless what happens post-installation, we're going to be around to help you navigate any situations that may arise. These last 2 points here, connecting with solar enthusiasts. Some of y'all may be introverts. You're less interested about connecting with enthusiasts of any type, but it is a lot of fun to be able to get together and talk with folks who are going through this process with you at the same time and sort of learn best practices and what people are experiencing. And then with that is becoming a part of a growing solar movement. We're working all the time at Sun to try and make solar more accessible, more affordable, and more strongly protected across the country. And if that is something that energizes you, then this gives you an on-ramp to be a part of that work. So looking at the breakdown of where we are in Solar Switch. So the first phase is installer selection. We go through a really thorough process where we reach out to local installers, have interviews with them. We do financial background checks of the companies to make sure they're in good financial standings. We look at things like the number of installations they're able to do per year to be sure that they're able to actually follow through on commitments that they make. And then we make sure that they have a really solid communication process to be sure that none of you are left high and dry once you join. After that, we have the registration phase where you all are signing up, you're talking to your neighbors about it, we're doing outreach. And whenever we build critical mass, we have the decision period. The decision period, you have until November 1st in order to decide if you want to move forward and work with your installer. What that process looks like is once you've joined SolarSwitch, you're going to get a very rough estimate of a quote that is sort of immediately sent to you. And that's based on information you've entered about your roof, your electricity consumption, all sorts of other things. And you're able to look at that and sort of gauge like, okay, I know this is a ballpark estimate, but it looks like something that I want to at least consider a little bit more. At that point, you do pay a $150 down payment. That $150, if you decide to sign a contract, that goes directly towards your contract amount. Nobody pockets that. It gets reduced from your overall contract amount. And if you decide that it's not right for you, it's fully refundable. No questions asked. You're able to sort of back out, recoup that $150 and move forward. I want to be very, I guess, specific here that there is a difference. There's a switch moving from the cost-free portion of this program to the obligation-free portion of this program. We do recognize that this $150 deposit is a cost that you're investing into this, and it goes a long way into helping our installers make sure they're able to manage the customer base effectively. But at that point, you're still obligation free. There's no obligation for you to go solar with us, and you're still able to make that decision for you and your home. If you do find yourself in a situation where that $150 may be difficult to manage, feel free to reach out to us and we can chat about that and see if there's an alternative. Once you're in touch with the installer, you'll receive a proposal that has the sort of group purchase rate that is going to be customized based on your needs. And then after that, you'll work with the installer. They'll give you a deadline to sign that contract, and then you can move forward and begin the installation. The installation, our goal is to make sure all of those are completed 6 months after you sign the contract. We do put a very small asterisk next to that, just understanding that there are things like weather events, utility delays that come into play. And that 6-month window may in some cases not be achievable, but that is always our goal. And then finally, we do like to close our programs by having a little party where everybody who signed a contract can join and come and, grab a drink, chat, figure out how the process went, and just able to meet folks that signed a contract with you. All right, so what's next? This is the close of the presentation. I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to join SolarSwitch Colorado. You can go to this website here. You will be able to put in your information, and then it'll take you to sort of your community-specific page. So if you're in Denver, it will take you to the Denver page, Boulder to the Boulder page, so on and so forth. If you have any questions about the registration process, definitely let us know. I really appreciate your all's time tonight. I am going to look through the chat and make sure we don't have too many lingering questions. But if you do have any questions that come up, send us an email to this email address and we will be in touch with you soon. Thank you all and hope you have a good night.